That's why first. I'm sorry. You're good.
But do you have copies of this, or do you want?
You know, I
me to
didn't.
make? I can make copies of it, real quick.
Do you just want the one? Or a copy of yourself? Okay, a copy for me.
Oh, yes, I know.
Can I bother you all to tell me your names again, and I promise this time I'll remember. I'll write them down.
Sure, Patrick? Yeah, my name's Adrian, Chair of the Board.
Perfect.
Mark Yoko.
Mark. Okay,
Christine, and the last with CH, or
that's good, okay. Perfect, okay, thanks. I appreciate that. Again, I'm Becca. I guess I'm wearing my name tag, so that makes it a little bit easier, but I would hate to go through a whole negotiations and not have that familiarity with names.
Now,
Appreciate that.
you're Maren's grandfather. I see her lots.
Do you? Oh, at Haley?
No, at the library.
The high school.
Oh, the high school, you're with Angie.
Yes,
Oh,
yes.
Hey, guy, what's up?
yeah, she and Angie are thick as thieves.
I know they are. I know they are. Hence Maren has become
Oh,
close
thank
with me and so on.
you. Did you? Okay, extra copies? Oh, I see. I see now what you were holding up from way over there. It
Yeah.
looked like, to me, it looked like an agenda.
Well, I figured we would start with this.
We will, and I also have copies. Sorry to make you make copies when I already have.
That's okay.
Everybody's got one though, right?
Cool, all right, so yeah, I'll say this, so this is a public meeting being recorded in accordance with Montana law. All those in attendance are advised that the public portions of this meeting will be recorded in audio video format. By remaining in the meeting, those present consent to being recorded and displayed in the footage that will be posted on the school district's website. Please contact the district office if you have any questions concerning Hamilton School District's recording obligations under Montana's open meeting law, so. Have to say all that fun stuff. So, all right, so
Do we want to start with building an agenda together? I mean, I know we've shared proposals. Or
Or,
do you have a different plan, Pam?
no, I find it a little bit easier to follow your,
Okay.
so I'll follow your lead.
Okay, so, first topic that I would like to, I guess, go through with everybody is just the ground rules. And, this is something that Becca and I had shared. I've reviewed this. Seems pretty simple. Seems like something we can follow, but I would welcome any input regarding that.
Pam, do you want to alternate facilitation of these meetings or have the district lead? It's up to you.
I will receive.
Okay, then I will facilitate and
Yes.
we'll just have that be the way we do it. Okay, so changing what number is that? Number one?
And if it makes it any easier, I'm just typing that in so that we can have a final document, if that's okay.
Okay.
That sounds good, okay. So it will be, the district will facilitate negotiation meetings. Is that fine?
Okay. So if we agree on this, then we can move to our first topic, which I would like to talk about, probationary period.
I'm curious if we want to go over the structure of the ground rules and, well, some of the behavioral things, because some of this might
Okay.
might have changed. So, just reading over it really quick and then we can make quick adjustments. Sorry about that, I'm just taking this.
Very good.
Okay. That's good. Is it all right if I read through these?
Yeah, sure. Go for
Okay,
it, go for it.
so identify eligible speakers, guests are observers only. Any discussion on that? I don't know that we usually have guests for these meetings.
They're open meetings, so we can.
Good.
So when they do, they wouldn't necessarily, they don't have a seat at the table. Okay, awesome. Keep meeting duration to 60 minutes or less, unless during the meeting, both parties agree upon more. So this meeting would go until 5.
Christine, on number 2 though, since it's a public meeting, we have to have public comment.
This is a negotiation.
So there's still, I'm just curious.
I don't think we do have to have public comment in a classified negotiation.
Because it's not a board meeting.
It's not a, if
Yeah,
there's
But
no
even
action
other
items.
board meetings, we have to have public comment, so even committees, we do, so I don't, just the thought process.
And typically, if there is a public comment, it wouldn't be on the agenda
No,
items. And if we had an agenda, it would probably just say negotiations. So they could technically have a public comment that was not related to negotiations. And
I mean, we can facilitate public comment for sure. I mean, maybe what we should do is have a public comment period before wrapping up
that's,
each meeting.
because when you say observers only, that basically, I'm just saying, because we do sometimes get our, district office staff, right?
Sure.
And they have comments. So,
Usually when we ask them
yeah,
for
so that's,
relevant information to the discussion.
so we can identify it then. So that would just be like, we could just identify as necessary if somebody has one. It'd have to be addressed and noted, I guess is the best way to put it. That would allow for that.
Mhm.
Otherwise, we'd be outside of the rules.
Right.
would you rather, so I heard mention, Kristen said maybe the end of,
For, if you want a true public comment, yeah, I feel like, I think what Patrick's describing is that historically, we will often have our payroll person here, to give contextual information when it's requested, and that could be by the classified side or the district side. So I think as long as everybody's in agreement that, if the information is being requested by, someone here, that we can allow that person to speak, to provide that information.
Would that be number 2,
That's what we're talking about.
eligible speakers?
so they're eligible.
I would,
There wouldn't
and I
be
think
public comment.
for that matter, Pam wanted to bring like additional members of the classified union, that if they had relevant information that she wanted them to share, that would be an eligible speaker as well.
Cool. Just double check
It's
it.
good.
Okay. Okay, I think as long as in the moment, if we don't know the answer in the moment, we can just agree. Both parties can agree. Do I need to change any language there? Identify eligible speakers, okay. So, duration of the meeting, 60 minutes or less unless we both agree to extend it. Schedule meetings on school days unless we schedule otherwise, if that sounds good. The final date for new proposals will be the 3rd meeting. We could make it the 2nd meeting, or it's whatever, that's up to discussion.
I would prefer to make, if a new proposal be the second meeting,
Okay,
that we come ready to go with.
so that both teams are not throwing a wrench into things after we've gotten into compensation discussions. Does that sound good for 2nd meeting? Okay. Okay, both teams compare notes and agree before minutes are signed. I believe that you don't have official minutes for these meetings since they're streamed. Is that correct?
Our practice is actually to have official minutes for our meetings, our public meetings. We do also stream and then we post it on our website for a year. But our practice is not to have our recording be the official minutes.
Okay. Are the official minutes then in writing? Are they approved at the next board meeting?
Generally.
Okay, so before, what this means is before the board, meeting approves the minutes, we get a chance to just compare to make sure that we're on the same page. So that if there's a glaring misconnect or, I don't know, mistake, right, we can catch that.
Yep.
So basically, I guess the minutes are gonna be done more than 48 hours in advance before board meeting.
Correct.
So we'll just get a chance to review those. And then, of course, we'll share our notes as well, which I can share my notes or him and I can discuss, how that gets to you, but it'll be electronic. Okay. So TTAs versus TAs, we would like to have any agreements attached to the minutes. Do you guys have a preference as far as approving, well, I guess this is 7 and 8. Do we want to go with tentative agreements and then the following meeting do a tentative agreement? Or do we want to just, when we come up with a tentative agreement, just print that baby and sign it? Or would you like to wait until, just kind of earmark it as a TA and then wait until the end of negotiations?
I prefer to just earmark it as a TA.
Okay. So how can we simplify this language, number 7 and 8?
Could we just, number 7, say TAs will be attached to official minutes? And just eliminate the
Yes.
TTAs portion, so
Yeah,
from
yeah.
and all the way back to the beginning.
Got it, and then instead, well, do we just eliminate 8? I
Yeah.
think that would be just fine.
Okay.
Okay, so the new number 8, tentative agreement should be ready for both teams to present to their members for ratification by the June board meeting. If you have a different time frame in mind, now's the time to discuss that.
I think it's hard to look in on a timeline like that because it's going to depend on both parties' participation in the process. So to hold, for us to, I think you can speak for your,
Yeah,
As
I
well.
would say that's a good goal,
It
but
is.
that might not be a fixed goal.
right.
Okay. Let's see.
You can change it to unless agreed upon. It's basically saying that, we're not gonna look at it by June. So you add the caveat, right?
Unless both teams agree.
And then that makes it seem like a goal where,
You have a goal,
Yeah.
but then we can say, it's a way.
so as Patrick said, I just added copy paste, comma, unless agreed upon by both teams. Okay. Start on time and end on time, and then I just inserted both of your phone numbers, Dave and Pam. If you're delayed, just to let us know if you can give us advance notice, and then it's not an issue. Silence phones, please. I think that's probably regular for your board meetings. Soft on people, hard on problems. Both teams will have their proposal outlined and ready to present, and we did. Now, this will be 7 copies. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Well, I guess really we only need 6. Am I missing? Oh, was I expecting someone else, Dave? Or is this your whole team?
No, this is our whole team,
Okay.
although Jen would normally be here, but she's away from the district right now.
Okay, so,
But she would be part of that eligible speakers that we were talking about earlier.
so we would want 7 copies.
Okay.
And just an extra copy, whether it needs to be, because I'm assuming that people in attendance in the public are not going to get any copies, is my assumption. Okay, so then we'll agree as a team to talking points to share publicly or not, right? So if we have a tentative agreement, we'll decide that if that's something that we want to bring back to our members or something that you want to discuss with the other board members as you go, or or just allow for all the minutes to be the public record?
I think the minutes are the minutes, and we kind of discussed this before.
I agree with that, do you?
Yes.
So whatever's in the minutes is public knowledge?
Yeah.
And then otherwise, it's just not discussed? Okay, is there, I probably don't have the ability to print anything. Do we want to hold this, I mean, do we want to sign this TA and then hold all the other TAs until the end, since this is our ground rules? Or do we just want a verbal agreement?
Let's just do a verbal agreement, I'm comfortable with that. Yeah.
Okay, and then what I'll do is, this will be part of the notes, and I'll just make sure that I send them to Dave.
Okay.
After this meeting. Okay, perfect. On to the next.
Okay, we're good there?
Yeah.
Do we want to jump into topics?
I think you said you wanted to start with the probationary period, didn't you?
I did.
Well, then let's go.
Let's go.
I do have a proposal. I think I might only have 6 copies, but.
Well, today we just need 6. Unless you'd like us to build kind of a
There's 2.
packet, or did you say Jen? Dave, would you like us to set things aside for Jen?
Thank you.
Sure.
Okay, so that's what we'll do.
I can. Okay, all right. Yeah, so I am proposing that in Article 2, just in definitions 2.5, which would impact a couple other spots in the contract, but defining probationary employee to be somebody that has not yet worked 180 scheduled work days. Just some rationale behind that is I would like to see a full year's work cycle. To know that, I think that gives the employee time to adjust to a position and also the district time to have a full cycle of their employment.
So Pam, anytime you can discuss things in front of anyone, or you can ask the caucus, and then I.
So you said it affects other parts of the contract?
Yeah, there's a few portions in the contract, like for
Is it
instance.
Going to be
labor
evaluation
on,
and dismissal.
So Article 7, probation, discharge and discipline. Each new employee shall be on probation for 120 scheduled days, and I'm proposing that change to 180.
Gotcha.
But changing the definition would then just change.
Yep.
Where the definition is applied in the contract.
Mhm. So all of that in Article 7 would change from 120 to 180?
Right.
I don't really see a problem with it. I mean,
So it would be, it's interesting because it says 120
so it'd be an
here.
extra 2 months. And we work 100, basically, for the 10-month employees, that's like 187 days. So it's usually, isn't it 6, most businesses are like 6 months. And I think anybody can adhere to anything for 6 months on their best side and then go into the slides and get comfortable. So I don't see a problem with 180 days.
Well, even our teachers are 3 years, really typically probationary period.
Mhm.
So I think that's flexible. My rationale is just to see a full year's work,
Right,
full school year's worth of work. Federal side to your.
I have no problem with it.
Okay, so do we have a tentative agreement then?
I think so.
I think so too.
Okay. So it looks like 7.1, it'll be 180, and then you had said 2.5 is
Yeah,
where
it's in
that is.
definitions, the article on definitions.
Probationary employee. 2.5 is going to be 180.
Next, topic, if we're ready.
Mhm.
Is Article 4, Section 4.10, which I feel like the language is a little ambiguous in this section. It is prep time, which I don't know that that's actually what that paragraph is communicating. I think it's just reasonable assumption that there will be direction given to a paraeducator about activities, duties, goals, and then time in the day to accomplish that work. But prep time really, I think, gets confusing because it gets tied into what a certified staff prep time contract might say.
Mm,
And so I think that's where the discrepancy would come. So this language really just removes that idea, the prep time title, and then proposed language cleanup. The expectation would be that there is time for direction, duties, goals, and time in the day for the individual to get those things done. And then the schedules, if they're not agreed upon, would be discussed with the immediate supervisors.
okay, well, first of all, let's change this to 4.11 instead of 4.10. Because 4.10, I have it as determining the initial placement of newly hired employees. And I could be wrong on my copy.
My copy has it at 4:10.
I've got the original one here, so we'll look at that. I see. Okay.
I
Okay,
have it on 4.10 also.
What is yours say? What does your copy?
Mine said 4.11.
Do you have something,
Well,
like a
we-
vacancy after your 4.11?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and then do you have long-term substitution,
Mhm.
30 days? So that's 4.13 for you? I'm just wondering, okay,
Yeah.
so,
I think there might just, like, this might have been the Word document, but this is the signed PDF
Okay,
version, so we'll go off of, so
okay,
we've got it 4.10 on the signed
Okay.
contract, so.
okay.
All right, so Dave, you're looking to replace all of the language with this proposal, is that
Yes,
correct? Strike through all the existing language?
yes.
Or just the word preparation.
Yeah, it's really a rewrite of that section, but, as far as its preparation time, that's eliminated in exchange for expectation of duties and activities.
Okay, so yeah, all you're doing is changing the,
Preparation time.
Well, right here is relinquishing this, I guess we should look at this. And confirming over the day-to-day expectations and living duties, so that's no longer in this. Well, that is. It just is if they have concerns, they may request a meeting. Okay, so basically, it's just setting a precedent for requesting. So they will meet, their duties and their schedule will be set by a supervisor, and if they have a request to change those things, then they can do it as supervisor. Okay, which is in the middle of it, so. Let's see. I don't see an issue with it.
Okay, so should this not be though?
Yes.
Yes. I'm game for that, but on what you handed out, it's just a typo error, on the second line before the word "be," instead of, paraprofessional schedules with "be," how about "will be"?
Okay.
And I think that's pretty much what they do, I mean, when I'm watching. What's
I think
going on
this
in
is
the
what
morning?
actually happens. I just felt like the prep time was, I thought it was ambiguous. I thought it was cause for confusion.
Yep, so this clarifies it.
Do you agree there?
We agree.
Okay, so tentatively agree on that proposal. Okay.
Okay, same article. Next topic would be Article 4, Section 16. So in this proposal, we have activities in the district essentially every day of the week. There is something going on. We are proposing the removal of the weekend language in 4.16 for the ability to have employees that potentially work on Saturday because of all of the activities that happen on the weekend. Still recognizes that if there is a need for the district to have somebody work that's outside their normal or regular hours, that we would pay the time and a half for overtime.
Okay, so you're just leaving out the spelling of the weekends.
Weekends.
Mhm.
Essentially, full transparency, if we have somebody that is scheduled to work on Saturdays, and that is their normal schedule, then we would just pay them at their regular wage.
Yeah.
However, if we ask them to do some things on, let's say, we have them scheduled for Tuesday through Saturday, we ask them to do something on Monday,
Right.
we would be paying them overtime.
It looks good to me.
Okay.
So, in the middle there, or scheduled, you just need a D on that, scheduled day off.
I will make that change, okay? So are we in agreement there?
Yes.
So 10:43. Good.
All right, next one is Article 17. I think there's going to be some discussion about this one. This is sick bank language. So 17.61 eligibility through 17.63, the maintenance of minimum balance and assessment. Through some dialogue and rereading the current language in the sick bank contract, this is just an effort to try to clarify and try to make things more clear for people.
Okay. Do you want my input on part of this?
Absolutely.
Okay. The first 10 contracted work days of each new school year. That isn't good. It doesn't happen. You have so much going on those first 10 days. I can't adhere to it. I mean, I couldn't. It's impossible. For what I'm doing in the library, as far as trying to get students' textbooks ready for them, the English reading books ready for them, get their new accounts built for them so that they can access any of our databases. All of those things are going on in those first 10 days, and it's insane time. It just, and you try to get to a para or anybody else that's working those first 10 days are still doing all of that organization and getting things together. There's no such thing as us coming in to a smooth running whatever. It isn't. It doesn't even slow down until probably at least the end of September. It takes that whole first month. Everybody is just scampering and scurrying. Yeah, you've got Chromebooks that, I've got better than 300 Chromebooks that need to be updated for whatever reason. It's not like Windows automatically updating. You just hit the button and close it and it takes care of itself. It's got to manually be done. So the open enrollment is.
So what's a reasonable amount of time for that?
So would this work again?
Yeah, I'm thinking at least, I'd say by the 1st of October,
By October 1?
by October 1. That gives all of the employees that are returning time to even think about their paperwork and getting things organized and.
Okay. So are you proposing in the statement where it says annual open enrollment that that's say October 1 rather than the 10 days?
Yes.
By October 1st of each new school year?
Yes.
keeping the initial hire 30 calendar days, right? You do want to keep the initial hire.
Yeah, and we'll leave the initial hire within and I'm the one that's out there beating the bush with these, with the new employees. Again, they come in, they're brand new, they don't know what's going on and trying to get their feet under themselves. You go 45 days on that?
On them,
On the initial
30
hire,
calendar
within the
days.
first 45 days of their employment.
yeah, I think tentatively, but I will say this, this is something that affects payroll, and so I would like to ask the question of Jen Pitzinger
Mhm.
to see how this impacts insurance and things like that, and just accumulation of leave. If there's anything unforeseen, but I personally don't have any reservation to that, but
Well,
I
they
might
have-
not
yeah.
know that.
Because they haven't even gathered, I mean, they haven't gone through to even begin to collect sick time at that, at that point. So if they get their paperwork, get in.
So 45 calendar days after initial hire, after their start date,
Right,
and then October 1st for annual open enrollment.
right.
You may want to have some, instead of, a date, having days is probably better, because you could potentially, wouldn't be an initial hire potentially, and then come back. And so they would have me on an annual, and so you might still want days of some sort.
For the annual enrollment. Yep.
We assume that they're coming back at the beginning of the year, at the beginning of the school year, but that is not always the case. So,
Well, I would say once they've enrolled,
right, but say, I think days are rather than a date, because then you can find yourself in exceptions. And if you find yourself getting pushed where somebody's start date potentially is not, then,
And these is this, contracted work days, so that would be 29, 20.
I mean, to me, it's similar, it'd be like 45 days, right? If you're October 1st, you have all of September, basically, and some of August, right? So it's 30 plus, so.
There's 25 days that are not PIR or holiday.
So we're at 45 calendar days is what you're proposing
Yeah, 45, yeah.
for both.
Yeah, that's what
So
I'm,
the,
yes.
If they both said 45 calendar days, could you live with that?
no, we were looking at the time between the first set of school days. You've got, your PIR days in there.
Right.
And so on, so,
45 days is gonna put it here.
Yeah, so 45 days under initial hire and 45 days under the annual open enrollment.
okay, so doing both 45 days?
45 days.
Okay,
And then did you still need to check with Jen?
I would like to check with her,
Can we table it to not give it a tentative agreement and then get confusing as far as, okay. So table it pending, checking in with Jen.
and we're gonna make it then 45 calendar days.
Okay.
Any discussion about any of the other content in there? It's essentially the same, it's just,
Oh, and it's 17.6.2. No,
17.6.3 is what I,
okay.
So when I'm looking at the signed copy, I just want to make sure that I'm on the right thing here. I have 17.6.3 as if at the end of each June 30th. But here it's maintenance of minimum balance and assessments. So I'm just curious where we're at. It all looks good with the, 17.6.1 and 17.6.2. That looks right. But I'm having trouble. Are you saying what I'm saying?
Yeah.
The 17.6.3 maintenance of minimum balance. But what I can do is I can search and see if,
It's the same, it's just basically all of that in the title to the 17.6.3. The wording, it's like, basically if at the end of June 30th, but that's just at the end of it. It's just broken out differently in terms of annual emergency assessment. The wording is just a change in wording,
okay, I see what you're saying.
but it's just been given a subtitle.
I gotcha, okay.
Yeah.
I see.
But the agreement is the same in terms of what happens at the end of June 30th. And the agreement is still the same on the emergency estimate.
Okay. So it's all proposed
Yeah.
new language to replace this here.
Make those read a little cleaner. I think it's okay.
But we'll table it, I'll get some input from
Jen?
Jen, but
Okay, yeah, because I'm thinking.
really just checking on the 45 days.
Right, okay, and when I was looking at the assessment will be processed within the first 10 days of the new school year, that's exactly when the sick time is loaded. And so if we catch them within those first 10 days of school, you don't have people chipping away at it, and then it becomes a problem when they're assessed. And really, in the 20 years or so that I've been here, I only remember being assessed probably, and I can look back at the records, two times, maybe three at the most. And one of those was due to the fact that we had a kitchen staff over at the high school who left work, thank God, and got home, and within a half hour had a major stroke and was unable to return to work. And so what we did is we went ahead and were assessed enough days to get this person on actually to disability, so that at least, we could help her out that way. And I'm sure if we'd have just even said, hey, who will kick in? Do we have anybody that would like to donate extra time? I think the district has a lot of employees who would be more than happy to do that. So, but the 10 days does work well.
Okay. Good there?
Okay, so we're gonna wait for Jen on
Yeah,
this
we'll
one.
just get input on the 45 days, 45 calendar days for both the initial enrollment and the annual open enrollment. And get that cleared up, and I think we'll be able to move forward next
Okay.
time into an agreement.
Can we just make a note
Okay?
that this aligns with one of our proposals, so can we make it a joint proposal?
Sure.
And just-
Okay. When I was pushing out the sick leave bank forms
Mhm.
a month or so ago, I had an employee who sent me an email and said, oh, okay, well, I'm not a member of the sick leave bank, but I got a question. What if I'm off, I got six weeks of sick leave, and I've taken it from the bank and you've given it to me, and at the end of that 6 weeks, I say, I'm not coming back to work. I'm like, what are you asking me? What are you saying to me? And it got me to thinking, we've never been burned on it before, but that doesn't mean that this particular employee wouldn't burn you, you know? And so I'd like to have a deterrent clause in there, or something that they feel that we've addressed it. And it's something that would be similar to, in the event the employee does not return to work after the use of borrowed days from the sick leave bank, by voluntary resignation, a 25% of the total number of borrowed days will be considered a debt to the sick leave bank and the district. The per day financial assessment for each day owing will be deducted from a final paycheck or billed to the resigning employee. The rate of pay will follow the attachment A of the current contract. These days will be credited back to the sick leave bank. I didn't know if it would serve as just a deterrent. Not that I could imagine that we, would actually have anybody that would do that, and we would need to. But I also do not want to get burned for 60 days of sick leave for the whole entire district. And that means all of the members would have to kick in. And I just see this as a problem.
I can see that problem. I just feel like that might be really challenging to actually execute that language. And I'm not sure that
Well, I know the teachers have a repayment program,
they do.
but again, they have a chance to accrue this.
But if somebody's leaving the district, then there really isn't an opportunity. That's what I think would be challenging, is if they choose to leave the district and never return, there isn't necessarily a mechanism for, they're not earning, if they exhaust that sick leave, then I don't know that we're going to be able to always withhold payment. Not even sure if we can withhold payment. Christina, are there legalities with that?
Yeah, there would absolutely, in my opinion. I mean, I would have to take a look. You read it, so I was trying to keep up, but I'd like to,
Is
really
there a
love to
way I
actually read
can
through it.
email just the proposals? I realize it was really nice of you to make us a copy of the proposals instead of just reading it out loud, and I did not make. But can I email?
You're welcome to email it. I would say that this would be one that we would want to table, so that we can actually take some time to dive into it. I mean, just off the top of my head, I think there are issues with deducting anything from an employee's paycheck without their consent ahead of time. So that would be one stumbling block. But also, I'm not sure, just from my perspective, you mentioned it would be a debt to the sick bank and the district,
Well,
which is, the sick bank is really the unions to
Right.
manage. We, as a courtesy, we basically effectuate what you tell us to do through payroll. It's not we don't have a management role in it.
no, you don't.
And
So,
that would
I
be
mean,
up
we
to
could
Dave and
strike
the
the,
board to decide whether that's something that they want to consider or not.
and the district. I just some sort of deterrent in there, and that's where your expertise would come in. I mean, whether we would have to.
So it would be up to the board to decide, I mean.
Right,
you
but
know.
you would be able to make some sort of,
You have a lot of faith in me, Pam. I
What's
appreciate that.
what's a good
Yeah.
email so that I can get this out to you right now?
My last name is Lewanski, and then the letter C at hsd3.org.
Okay, so that is LEWEN.
no,
So
LEW,
she has, Pam knows it. She can help you.
LEWANSKI.
C.
Correct.
Okay. Okay, anybody else that needs a copy of, because I'm going
You
to,
send it to Christine, she'll.
Yeah, she'll get it to us.
that's perfect, and this is also going.
And
I'll just.
I have no problem with this being totally picked apart, but I also am trying to, I was trying to figure out how to do a deterrent. Because we usually make, once you've done the sick leave bank, we don't make you pay it back. I mean, it's always been sitting there, and I've never really had an employee who, blatant.
Yeah.
I mean, I know who the employee is, but, and I probably would,
I think it's difficult, on our sick leave banks, that there has been people who do that kind of thing. The problem is that it is hard to prove also why they resign. Especially when you're dealing with sick leave bank, a lot of those people, unfortunately, the reason they're using a sick leave bank is because they're sick. And so they do not return off sick leave bank. And so it becomes a difficult aspect to determine. And then you become judge and jury basically on that. And then that's when it has to go to judgment. And so it becomes more of a problem than it does.
They may have been legitimately sick and cannot return to work.
And so you run into these issues where they can't return to the work because they have to return to something else. And so now you're making a determination, is it because they left because they didn't want to give back the sick days, or if it becomes very difficult to prove that. That's the problem. I understand where you're coming from, because yes, you want to deter, a bad actor from doing that. But on the other hand, I think what you try to do is there's bad actors are going to be there, and most people are not that way. It's just, I think it's going to be hard to challenge that.
Yeah.
Because once again, they're going to also then be like, well, if you're going to say that, then I'm going to take it to court, and you're going to have to prove it to me. Bad actor.
Yeah, I think you just have to default to the good intention of the sick bank. I really do. I mean, I hate to say that, but that's really what you have to do. Okay, so we'll review that.
yeah, that's because we have no maternity clause or anything like that. And some of our employees are paraprofessionals and so on are becoming younger. And you just, yeah.
So we'll take a look at it and
Okay,
then
that's just,
bring it
it's
back
just,
and talk through the
Okay.
whole thing the next time.
yes,
And we can take a look at what is in the certified.
do what?
We can look at what, you had mentioned it's in the certified, so we can take a look at that as well.
All right, so we're gonna table that one.
Yes,
I will be honest, this next one is attachment A, and it is not complete by intention, but I also wanted to clear up some setup on this for discussion. So Pam, this relates to what we discussed
back in October.
back in October. And I have spent a lot of time thinking about this, looking over this, and basically the request was to just pool type 1 and type 2 personnel together and have it just be one salary matrix.
Yeah, well,
And
yes,
defaulting to the type 2, which is the higher wage, which I understand that request. As I went through and looked at each of those positions, there is a difference in expectation between type 1 personnel and type 2 personnel. The type 2 personnel, there is either a supervisory or directing employees or directing others in a sort of quasi-management sort of position, or dealing with high student behaviors or an academic expectation that is above and beyond. I will point out that I added the last two. If you look at type 2, I added academic interventionist to that list because that was in the addendum that added academic interventionists to this out of the district office. And
Well,
also,
they were always supposed to be under our matrix. And once, I'm not even gonna blame it on COVID. As far as some of the changes and things that were done, it was preferential treatment that put them on different contracts as far as with the district office. And the union was side-skirted on this. And it's a pretty, I mean, that's kind of a really, that's a tough thing. Your paraprofessionals that are at the high school are working with these exact same kids doing the exact same job. I mean, and that's what brought this about, was that your high school kids or the high school paras were the ones that are saying, I'm doing the same thing as she is. She may have them for an hour, but I've got them the rest of their class periods and so on. And, you know, we're dealing with the same thing.
I think the scope of this, you know, beyond the high school, when you look into the different buildings, and you look, for instance, at the elementary school and the art program, there is definitely the expectation of training, the expectation of dealing with student behavior is different from somebody that is not working in the art program. As same sort of line of thinking, your lead cook is going to be directing the assistant cooks. So there's an element of increased responsibility to that. But I want to backtrack, and the interventionist, this would be to put the interventionist back into this, out of the addendum, and that puts the interventionist back into this matrix. But in addition, I do want to point out, because this is new, and I do want to encourage people to get this certification, it's the SPED Tech certification. So this is it's a 4-course training. It's offered through Dawson Community College, and it is a preparation to get people started in becoming, more training and or tracking into potentially becoming a special education teacher. I would like to support that move.
Yeah, it's a new classification in OPI and it's class 9. So it is above and beyond, so that's a great thing to have in there.
The thing that's missing from this, and I am pointing out the things that I've really been thinking about in terms of the differences between the personnel, is there's a compensation, there's a wage piece to this that I didn't include here in this proposal, and I intend to. We want to get to that, but I wanted to make sure that we had the conversation about the type 1 and the type 2 first.
Would you like to chat with me and we can caucus, or do you feel like we can have a joint proposal and discuss this?
The other option is, because it is 5 o'clock, that we table this and we make this a topic for,
Let's do that.
Okay.
Let's do that.
gives you time to think about it.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it will.
Pam, I recognize the input that you did provide in October, and it was well done, and obviously you spent time presenting that. And I did spend a significant amount of time looking at job descriptions and having conversations about what's different about these. And ultimately, I see the rationale for the 2 types. There may be some things to work on, but I do see the rationale for having 2 types of, 2 groups. But I want you to think about that.
I will. Because as I'm looking at this, I'm looking at, okay, paraprofessional. I don't fit anywhere. I do not. As far as library media, I look at that and go, well, okay. I mean, I spent 20 years in the library and doing and so on. And once it's changed. It's not the same little library that you used to have. Especially when you're tracking textbooks. They're not tracked at the middle school or anyplace else. But we account for all of the textbooks, the calculators, the everything that goes out. So it's a little bit more than just checking a library book out to, kindergartners or 1st or 2nd graders or the people at Daily. And so, yeah, I don't know. I'll think about it.
Okay.
And so our next meeting is the 4th?
We have it scheduled.
Yeah.
And I don't have my phone in there, so.
It's the 4th, that's the 4th.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's scheduled for 4 PM, if that still works for everyone.
Yes,
Is that Monday? 4th Monday?
Yes.
okay.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, we'll still be doing we'll be doing the AP testing over there, but I think I have that all planned out and worked out, so I can
Okay.
get here without having to run in.
Well, just call if you need a little more time.
Yeah.
Just call if you need a little more
Yeah,
time.
no,
Don't
It
rush.
wasn't too bad. You keep coming in just like you do, so as long as I beat
Come on, test my
you, as long as I beat you,
All right. Well, thank you.
okay, you are welcome. At least we made some positive steps.
Are you ready to go off record?
Yeah, we can go over it. A lot more done than not done.
It's really good.